What I would like to do is give you a very brief overview of two digital projects that I have been involved with, each of which is an example of digital mapping of cultural heritage. Both of these digital projects are in some senses what might be called legacy projects in themselves. Currently, the mapping work that I do is centered at the Archaeological Mapping Lab in the School of Anthropology at the University of Arizona, where the lab is at the heart of my teaching and research. Here you see a photo of the lab and two of my research assistants, Larissa Shipley and Lauren Tominelli, both PhD students in anthropology. Digital cartography, GIS, remote sensing, and spatial analysis are at the heart of our work, which is totally project-driven. I have been utilizing AutoCAD, the architectural drafting program, for much of our work in the lab since 1984, when I began my interest in digital mapping. Earlier in my career, I was at the University of Pennsylvania Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology in Philadelphia, and there I undertook several digital mapping projects, the first of which was the Corinth Computer Project, the study of the planning and development of the Roman colonies at Corinth. This was followed by Mapping Augustan Rome, together with my colleague Lothar Hasselberger, and then Digital Augustan Rome. More recently, I've been involved in Greece at the Sanctuary of Zeus at Mount Lycaon in Arcadia with my colleagues Mary Voyatsis and Anna Karapanayotou, and towards the creation of the Parrhasian Heritage Park, which would be Greece's first large-scale national heritage park. All of these projects have digital mapping elements. The Corinth Computer Project is a computerized architectural and topographical survey of the planning and development of the Roman colonies of Corinth, both the urban and the rural areas. I direct the project, and the fieldwork was carried out under the auspices of the Corinth excavations of the American School of Classical Studies at Athens, Dr. Charles K. Williams, director in 10 summer seasons, 1988 to 1997. And the analysis continues to this day. I have now had 4 generations of websites devoted to the Corinth Computer Project, and we are working on the 5th website at the moment, currently under revision. Many students have helped me in this project, both in the field and in the laboratory at Penn, and now at Arizona, and I thank them all for their interest and assistance. The framework of the Corinth Computer Project was the electronic total station topographical survey of all above-ground buildings, monuments, and structures of the city, not just the Roman ones, but from all chronological periods at Corinth. A small team of us, usually 4 each summer, surveyed the diagnostic, location, and orientation of the principal features of the buildings and monuments in Corinth, and in 10 summers of work, had a total of 12,748 physical features identified over the entire city. The specifications of our electronic total station was precision to 5 millimeters or 5 seconds of 1 minute of 1 degree. In addition to the above ground survey of the buildings and monuments of ancient Corinth done in the summer sessions, during the academic years, we carefully digitized over 400 published stone for stone actual state drawings of the buildings and monuments from the successive phases of Corinth. Here's an example of one of them, the Pyrene Fountain House. This is the digitized actual state drawing of Plate 1 from Corinth, Volume 1, Part 6, The Springs, Pyrene Sacred Spring, Glauci, by Bert Hodge Hill, 1964. The color scheme visualized here has to do with the chronological phases of development of the structure, where the green lines relate to the Greek construction, the magenta lines to Hellenistic, the blue lines relate to various Roman chronological periods, the yellow lines relate to Byzantine. The solitary blue lines that you see on the left side of the image and to the top of the image are the survey lines from our topographical survey. So, for instance, these lines over here, these are part of our topographical survey, these blue lines. This is Temple A here, and this is another, these are the survey lines of the precinct of Apollo here. But the digitized plan is in the central bottom of the slide. What we did was to fit each of the digitized actual state drawings to the topographical survey data in order to make a new, highly accurate stone for stone map of the city. So this is the Pyrene fountain in Corinth. And here you see a digitized, another digitized view of the same Pyrene fountain house, but now you have the locations of the elevation drawings here as the red lines with the elevation notation. So in the Pyrene fountain house, there were 9 elevation drawings, all published by Bert Hudge Hill, and which we have digitized. So here's an example of one of these elevation drawings. We use the same color conventions for the chronological periods in the elevations as we did in the plan view. Furthermore, each of the drawn lines of the over 400 digitized actual state drawings have been assigned identifying layers. Each plan has been georectified to fit the topographical survey. The actual state plans have been stitched together and overlap has been removed. Each of the drawn lines has 4 kinds of information associated with it in code, chronology, function, material, and a bibliographic reference. So for instance, a particular line from the Lacan Road might include the following information: limestone block, road paving, Flavian, and the Corinth volume reference. These are all found in the AutoCAD layers. This is what a portion of the actual state drawing of the city center of Roman Corinth looks like against the restored grid of the Roman city. Green relates to Greek, magenta to Hellenistic, and blue to the various Roman chronologies. Byzantine and later chronological periods are not illustrated in this drawing. Each of the digitized buildings, structures, and monuments has been georeferenced to our topographical survey. An earlier version of the Corinth Computer Project website, which goes back to the early 2000s, allowed us to include the AutoCAD drawings for the significant buildings of the city center that would be displayed and downloaded with layers intact. Here you see the page for the Odeum at Corinth, based on the drawing plate 2 in Corinth 10, the Odeum by Oscar Bernier, 1932. So almost 20 years ago, we had a facility on our website to include the AutoCAD drawings, have the layers visualized, to be able to manipulate the layers by a viewer, and to download the AutoCAD drawings. This is no longer possible because Autodesk no longer supports this particular module, which was known as AutoCAD Whip. Looking out from the forum, I was able to discern the vestiges of the plan of the urban colony from various sources of information: modern roadways, crop marks, contours, field and property lines, and our own survey data. You see the kinds of information gathered here and the locations of the evidence. Among the most important data were the 22 excavated Roman roads that we were able to survey. And so these are color-coded: the red for modern roadways, light blue for crop marks, dark blue for the total station survey, green for the contours. One of the results of this work was the discovery of the original planning of the urban Caesarean colony into 4 equal quadrants, each 32 by 15 actus, 200 jugera for each quadrant, excluding roadways, a total of 240 hectares. Here you see what I've called the drawing board plan, here illustrating the Roman city of 150 AD against the modern village of Corinth from the 1960s, the village of Corinth, in magenta. As you'll see, several of the modern roads of the village are clearly on the line of the Roman roadways. I also found it possible to study the planning and evolution of the Forum at Corinth, the first century BC configuration on the left and the first century AD configuration on the right, based on the original division of the central area of the Forum into 4x6 actus. The expansion of the Forum had to do with the enlargement of Temple E at Corinth. Looking further afield, I was able to distinguish Roman agricultural land planning, centuriation in the Corinthia to the north, east, west, and south of the urban colony, covering approximately 100 square kilometers, associated with the Caesarean colony of 44. And you see the map here. This work was accomplished by means of study and digitization of topographical maps, satellite images, low-level air photographs, together with our own topographical survey. Each of these rectilinear shapes in the landscape here are 16 by 24 actus in size. The actus was the Roman linear measure of 120 feet. And here, the centuriation associated with the Flavian colony at Corinth of the 70s CE, covering approximately 300 square kilometers. Turning now to Rome, very quickly, the Mapping Augustan Rome project began as a seminar at the University of Pennsylvania in 1998-1999. Under the direction of Lothar Hasselberger, I was an instructor in the course and was in charge of making the map. The idea of the project was to create a map that illustrated the Augustan city in 14 AD and to have a textual entry for as many of these buildings and monuments as possible, that is, the buildings and monuments in existence in 14. This seminar did not include any field work, was a classroom and laboratory project for 11 graduate students and 1 undergraduate student. By the end of the seminar, we had identified 353 buildings, structures, and monuments that we included as entries, many of which we could locate on the maps. The results of this seminar was published as Mapping Augustan Rome, Supplement 50 of the Journal of Roman Archaeology in 2002. We began working on a digital successor to the book that we envisioned as a website in which we combined the information from the map and the book together in a single presentation. The original website dated to 2008, and we have recently improved the website just in the past year. Each of the Augustan buildings and monuments has a flag with a corresponding number to the entry. I don't have time to discuss all aspects of this website, but this is just a very, very brief introduction. So for instance, if you were to click on number 14 on the map, which is the Pantheon, you would zoom in on the area of the Pantheon and have the textual entry appear at the right hand of the screen. Here, the Augustan map is in the background. This entry is by Alicia Ann Dumser. You can also look at the same area of the modern city in a satellite image as here, and the satellite image indicates the location of all of the Augustan buildings and monuments. And you can also look at it here in a street view and find where the Pantheon is in modern streets of Rome. We are now beginning to add some links to the entries for ancient literary references, inscriptions, early travelers' photographs and drawings. We are also adding photographs. Here, the original entry for the obelisk in the Circus Maximus, also by Alicia Ann Dumser. Here is a new entry for the Basilica Julia. We've added an actual state drawing of the foundations of the building. This is done by Larissa Shipley, and show the AutoCAD layers. The original entry is by Lothar Hasselberger and Carlos Norena. So what we're doing now is beginning to add links, photographs. We're also beginning to add AutoCAD drawings of actual state drawings of the buildings and monuments, which are being highlighted in the website. The Corinth Computer Project was a research project driven by the excavations of the American School of Classical Studies since 1896, with our specific goals to uncover details of the planning of the Roman colonies at Corinth. It has led to many articles, books, courses, modern methodologies, and most importantly, new information about Corinth. Its first website appeared in 1995. The Mapping Augustan Rome project and the successor Digital Augustan Rome project was not a field project, but was rather intended to create a new paper map of the Augustan city with textual entries for the buildings and monuments based on the existing bibliography. It was created as a book to serve as a resource for students and scholars to follow with the Augustan city of Rome in mind. The conversion of the book and the map to the digital resource that exists today was an important step. I would consider both of these projects to be important examples in mapping cultural heritage. Thank you very much.